Hi, my name is Gibson, and I'm the owner and founder of the Personal Development School. This is your daily breakthrough video, and today we're going to talk a little bit about why invalidation or a lack of validation hurts so much. So, if you receive a lot of value from these videos, please like them, share them, subscribe to our channel, and feel free to connect at www.personaldevelopmentschool.com. So, let's start with where this comes from. So first and foremost, oftentimes people who are crushed by this sense of feeling invalidated or rejected often had a primary caregiver or some really prominent authority figure or influential role in their life who made them feel invalidated frequently. So made them feel like constantly rejected or maybe a little bit unworthy or not important. And so what we do is our subconscious mind stores this pattern and paradigm. And we have this way of coping with things where we learn as an adaptation or survival sort of strategy. If we can remember how we are treated, or if we can remember negative things that happen to us, and we can adopt those behavioral coping mechanisms, and we can start doing those things to ourselves, oftentimes we beat the outside world to the punishment that we might have otherwise received. So for example, if I am criticized constantly when my room is messy as a child, if I can criticize myself, if I can make the adaptation and learn to criticize myself when things are untidy, well, the result of that is that I'm probably likely to tidy my room and thus avoid punishment that would have otherwise happened from a caregiver or somebody who could have hurt me externally. So oftentimes, to protect ourselves or to avoid punishment, we take on the programs or the ways that people have treated us. And what often happens as the result of that is we carry these programs all the way into our adult lives and throughout the course of our lives to some degree, at least for the majority of these things, unless something happens that sort of wakes us up to this introspective state where we can start to become more aware of what's going on inside of us. So what this tells us is oftentimes somebody who feels extremely invalidated to some degree, or who is very much hurt by validation, they are probably invalidating themselves all the time and not consciously recognizing it. So this can show up in a few different ways. Number one, it can show up in your internal dialogue. Okay, if there's a lot of self-criticism, a lot of self-rejection, a lot of, oh, why did you do this? What's wrong with you that you did that? Oh, you're stupid for doing this. You're an idiot for that. If there's a lot of these thoughts that are happening, a lot of that narration going on in that mental chatter of your mind all day, by the time somebody else does that to you or points that out or shines a light on it or seems to criticize or invalidate you at all, it's extremely painful, way more so than if your mind was clear and free of this. You might actually be able to say, why did they just, criticize me in some way? Is it possible that what they're saying has value and I could improve in some way? But if we are constantly criticizing ourselves, then any invalidation from the external world feels that much more painful. Now, something really important to keep in mind is that it is not just our mental chatter that creates feelings of invalidation. There are many other ways that we invalidate ourselves without recognizing it. I'll give a couple examples. Number one, we can be putting other people's feelings and needs constantly ahead of our own. So let's say, for example, that Sally just had a really long day and she really needs to just get some rest because she's been there for her kids and had a tough day at work and had to sort of cater to everybody. And then somebody calls her and says, hey, Sally, can you do me a favor and, take out my garbage down the street? Or, hey, can you do me, they ask a favor that's not necessarily pressing or urgent. And even though everything in Sally just needs a rest or a break, she dismisses how she actually feels and what she actually needs in favor of catering to others. And that's a great way to invalidate the self. And this can show up in other areas. This can show up in when we're tired and we just need some silence. Instead, we jump into a conversation and feel like we have to be the center of attention, or we have to, impress everybody, or be on our best behavior all the time, or show up at the fullest of our potential, instead of just allowing and accepting with yourself that, hey, I'm feeling a little bit tired and I could use some rest. I don't want to participate as much in this conversation, or I just need some introverted time. So that's another example. There are so many examples of ways that we will invalidate ourselves behaviorally through a dismissal of our own feelings and needs in favor of trying to seek validation outside of us. And here's what happens. If we are constantly seeking validation outside of us, it's the result of some kind of lack that we are experiencing inside of us. So if you look at how this plays out, we receive a lack of validation in childhood. We learn to invalidate ourselves and put others' needs first, others' feelings first, what people expect of us first, ahead of what we're actually feeling and needing, as this subconscious protective mechanism to cope and avoid punishments. And out of doing that, we have this whole program where we continue to invalidate ourselves all the way into our adult lives by worrying so much, hyper worrying about what people think of us, how we're showing up, that we have to put on the best show, we have to be good enough all the time, and we put all this pressure and expectation on ourselves, which in and of itself is its own paradigm of complete invalidation. And then what we'll notice as a symptom of a lack of validation and rootedness in ourselves is that we seek so much outside of us what we are not able to give to ourselves. And so what I recommend to people who are struggling with this is not just to do, some reprogramming, since the subconscious is programmed through repetition plus emotion, not just to do reprogramming that is, telling yourself that you're good enough or that you're worthy, not just to do self-validation from that perspective through writing or through thinking or feeling about this stuff, but make a list of all of the behaviors and all of the places in your life where you are invalidating yourself without consciously recognizing it. Okay, so how often throughout your day do you wake up and immediately worry more about what other people are thinking of you or what other people are expecting of you and cater to that instead of actually staying rooted in what your feelings are and what your needs are and just connecting to that space inside your being? And make a list of all these activities, all these places that you don't show up for yourself. And then go through and pick one or two places where you can actively try to create a change. So put a strategy down. If it's the first thing in the morning, you get up and you run and wake your kids up for the day and you do all their stuff and get them all ready and you totally forget about your existence almost in the process. What's a strategy for that? Can I set my alarm 15 minutes earlier and take a moment to journal for the first 15 minutes of my day, or meditate, or just connect to myself and set up some affirmations? Or if it's that I always ignore my feelings in favor of my partners, can I set the intention? Can I put a strategy together to start expressing more clearly, hey, I feel this way when this happens? Or start speaking up for your needs a little bit more effectively. So make a note of every place in your life that you dismiss yourself or invalidate yourself to some degree, okay? In all of your behaviors, in all of the activities that you're committed to, in the workplace, with your partner, with your children, with your parents. Make a list of all these places and pick one or two at a time where you can start trying to create some change. And what you'll notice is that this is a massive positive impactor of your self-esteem. The more that we are not actively invalidating ourselves in favor of others, the more our self-esteem actually has room to grow and to thrive and flourish a little bit. And then the more we are invalidating ourselves and putting everybody else first and ourselves last, externalize that. What does that mean? What does that look like? How are we impacting ourselves? And a good way of measuring this, or not measuring, but a good way of sort of exposing this or making this really clear is to imagine that somebody else was following you around all day, treating you that way. If somebody was following you around all day saying, hey, hurry up to get your kids ready for school, hurry up, move on to this next thing, you better be better for your boss is probably judging you, you're not doing a very good job, don't worry about your feelings and needs, just worry about your partners and your kids and your parents. Yours don't exist, don't even think about them. Like if somebody was doing this to us, it would feel extremely painful and invalidating. So check in. How are you showing up for yourself? Make a list of all the places you don't show up well for yourself and pick one or two at a time each week and commit to making some slow but really important changes in these areas. And this will have a massive impact on so many other aspects of you and your life. And keep in mind as well that, when you are happiest and most fulfilled and in the best place with your self-esteem and feeling good enough, you actually have the most to give to others. So you being in good relationship to self positively impacts everybody else around you. So there is massive importance in doing this, not just for you, though this should be the main focus and driver, but also for the people around you that you love and care about and you want to show up well for. Thank you so much for watching. If you received a lot of value out of this video, please connect, please like this, share it, subscribe to our channel, and we've got a lot of free resources and worksheets at www.personaldevelopmentschool.com.